But ALBA, the party that was founded by Alex Salmond, clearly they must think they're in with a shout. I'm here with Charlie Abel, a founding member of the ALBA party, local man. The SNP, there's worse to come, I think, isn't there?
Well, it's not for me to say things about the SNP, because I'm in the ALBA party. I left the SNP.
Yeah, but they are the governing party of Scotland.
They're the governing party of Scotland, yes, and they're in problems. There's no hiding from that. But that makes me sad, and I'm not here to celebrate the demise of the SNP, because the demise of the SNP does not mean the demise of the case for Scottish independence. Scottish independence is much bigger than the SNP.
You
it's much
say
bigger
that.
than one party.
You say that, Charlie,
but it won't go away.
But since 2014, independence or separation, whichever word you prefer, has become synonymous with the SNP. So surely if the SNP are going towards the floor, surely the whole campaign is too. That's
part of the problem I've had with the SNP, and part of the reason ALBA exists is because, and other independence parties, not just ALBA, the SNP made it a one-trick pony, and they kind of had a monopoly on independence. And we can't have any single party having a monopoly on self-determination for the Scottish people. It has to be a bigger thing. We can't hook our fortunes of a political party to our self-determination, because the things that are happening in Scotland with child poverty at 25%, our resources being stolen from us left, right and centre, piped down
Stolen?
south. Yes, they're stolen.
Stolen?
Yes. These resources belong to the Scottish people. And they're being taken away.
Yeah, well, I think
we don't get anything for that oil.
No, I know, but it's very interesting, this, because the oil argument, Alex Salmond, the founder of your party, a leader of your party, Alex Salmond, you know, for decades, argued that oil was the way that Scotland could be self-sufficient economically.
It's a bonus.
Yet the SNP's policy is, I think the whole of Aberdeen's going to be a giant wind farm, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, well, there's no problem having the wind farms. They're good, they're a great thing. They're a resource that we should harness, but there are other policies, like to shut down the North Sea, is not something all the SNP agree with, but it seems to be more that the green tail is wagging the SNP dog.
Now, you believe passionately in Scotland being an independent country.
Absolutely.
I understand that. I respect that.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't believe it's the right thing for Scotland, but it's up to you and the people of Scotland to decide, and that's absolutely fine.
It's democracy.
But no, absolutely. Hey, I agree with you. There was a referendum in 2014, a once-in-a-lifetime referendum in 2014. And then...
What happened?
Hang on.
What happened?
Hang on a second.
To remain in the EU. What happened to that?
Hang on a second. There was another once-in-a-lifetime referendum in 2016, and it seems that ALBA and the SNP don't respect either result.
Yeah, well, remember, the Scottish people instructed a mandate in 2016 to the SNP government that if there was a material change of circumstances, such as being taken out of the EU against your will, which happened, that we would have another referendum.
No. You'd already voted. You'd already decided that in the EU referendum we would decide as a full United Kingdom. You can't have it both ways, can you?
Yes, no.
Well, yes or no?
Do you believe in self-determination of a people under the United Nations Charter? Because either you do or you don't.
Of course I do, but I don't. Of course. Look, hey, I've been an independence campaigner for 30 years, all right?
If it's good enough for you, it's good enough for me.
I understand the emotions behind it. Of course I do. Of course I get it. But you can't have a referendum every Thursday. That's really the point I'm making.
Yeah, well, people can have referendums when the people want to have referendums. And if the people ask for a referendum and Westminster says no, or the Supreme Court says no, as it did in December, then we have a problem, do we?
Well, listen,
we have an overwhelming mandate.
If there is another referendum in 10 or 15 years' time, then the once-in-a-generation test will have been passed. But listen, I know where you stand on this. You're very clear about it. You believe in it passionately. And, hey, we're GB News. We believe in open, free speech. That's why we're here as a channel. Let's move you on to something else really important, I think. The gender reform legislation. Does ALBA support that legislation?
In its current form, no.
OK.
No, because it interferes with women's rights. And the majority of the Scottish people don't agree with it. And we don't think that the Scottish National Party should be going to war with the Westminster government on the Section 35. But that does not mean for a second that we celebrate Westminster using the Section 35 to stop devolution laws that we've passed. And it's no reason for anybody to interfere with devolution.
But the big question, this gender legislation was opposed in opinion polls by 80% of Scots.
Yeah.
Has Holyrood now become rather detached from the Scottish people?
Well, that's part of a problem. The people that we vote for, and especially in Scotland, they get a big mandate for independence, and it seems to have been sidetracked for other issues. And instead of fighting Westminster, if they really believe in the issues they have, they should get independence done, which they were promised to deliver, and they haven't delivered. They've done pretty much nothing in 8 years. If they deliver their independence and we have an independent Scotland, then let's have a vote in an independent Scotland, and never mind fighting Westminster for self-identification. It's self-determination they should be fighting for, and fighting the Supreme Court ruling in December. They just laid back. Did nothing about that. They did nothing about Brexit either. They tried to stop England getting their Brexit, which is ludicrous. If England voted for Brexit,
how much, Charlie Abel, how much do you dislike the English?
I don't dislike the English. It's nothing to do with the English.
But a lot of the Scottish nationalist movement has been profoundly anti-English, hasn't it?
Not
in a really unpleasant, nasty way.
We have lots of English people in my party, and there's absolutely nothing anti-English. We are for everybody. Everybody that wants to live in Scotland is welcome in our party, and it doesn't matter where they're born. Virtue of where you're born has got nothing to do with your politics.
I've seen myself a bit of anti-Englishness when I've been in Scotland before, but it could be just anti-Nigel Farage. It's possible. It's possible.
It's maybe to do with your political views rather than...
Well, it could be, yes. The fact that I believe in independence is why they don't like me. I don't know. Listen, it's really, really interesting how this is going to play out. I've no idea quite how, where this downward spiral of the SNP ends. One final thought. Clearly, Sturgeon, the others, are all damaged beyond repair and not coming back into frontline politics. I just wonder, Alex Salmond, a giant figure, a very personable human being in many, many ways, but is he too perhaps past his sell-by date?
Absolutely not. He's a young man. He's got plenty to offer the independence movement. And if you want to win a fight, you want your best fighter in the ring, and there's no shadow of a doubt. He's one of the greatest figures in Scottish politics over the last 100 years, and if I'm on a team, I would like to have him in my team.
I don't doubt for a minute he's a great scrapper. I don't doubt for a minute he's been hugely influential. I just wonder whether his credibility has taken a big knock too.
There's no issue with his credibility at all.
Well, I tell you what, thank you very much indeed for coming on, for making the case for Scottish independence and separation, and we're going to watch Alba with very, very great interest, and thank you for joining us this evening on